You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from season 1. Finding details about this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show at the time likes to talk about it. From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt Groening. During production of the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present results in them getting very angry and forbidding you to ever mention it to Matt. I first heard of it at an event where David Silverman was speaking. Someone in the crowd asked about the episode, and Silverman simply left the stage, ending the presentations hours early. The episode's production number was 7G06. The title was Dead Bart. The episode labeled 7G06, Moaning Lisa, was made later and given Dead Bart's production code to hide the later existence. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who was on the show about this will cause them to do anything they can to stop you from directly communicating with Matt Groening. At a fan event, I managed to follow him. After he spoke to the crowd, I eventually had a chance to talk to him alone. As he was leaving the building, I didn't seem to notice him being upset. He didn't seem upset that I followed him, probably expecting a typical encounter with an obsessive fan. When I mentioned the lost episode, though, all the color drained from his face, and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me about any of the details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. The episode started off like any other episode, but had very poor quality animation. If you've seen the original animation for some enhanced evenings, Act 1 ended with a shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting on their table, crying. The crying went on and on. It got more pained and sounded more realistic, better acting than you would think possible. The animation started to decay even more as they cried, and you could hear murmuring in the background. The characters could barely be made out. They were stretching and blurring. They looked like deformed shadows with random bright colors thrown on them. There were faces looking in the window, flashing in and out, so you were never sure what they looked like. This crying went on for all of Act 2. Act 3 opened with a title card saying that 1 year had passed. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin, and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted, and as they walked to the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of his tombstone, looking just like it did at the end of Act 1. The family started to cry again. Eventually they stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to the summaries, Homer was supposed to tell a joke at this part, but it wasn't audible in the version that I saw. You can't tell what Homer is saying. The view zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstone in the background had the names of every Simpson guest starred on them. Some that had no one had ever heard of in 1989. Some that haven't been shown yet. All of them had death dates on them. For guests who died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison, the dates were when they would die. The credits were completely silent and seemed handwritten. The final image was the Simpsons family on their couch, like in the intros, but all drawn in hyper-realistic life-size style of Bart's corpse. A thought occurred to me after seeing the episode for the first time. You could try to use the tombstone to predict the death of the living Simpsons guest stars. But there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. All of their deaths are listed as the same date.